Testing, testing. Testing, testing.
All right, back on the record, Commissioner Fleshman.
Okay, so if I can recall my point, I'm just concerned about customers getting lots of different kinds of information in lots of different ways, and not getting in the information that they can actually use effectively. And so, rather than have this obligation that ends up providing information that's different than other programs where they're getting information on Empower or something else. I wonder if there's a way that folks here can figure out how to craft something that ratepayers can use, that's useful for them, that contains the kind of information that they need, because they don't really care if it's Empower or not. They care about the fact that it's effective for them.
Commissioner, are you speaking in specifically to federal and state rebates, tax credits, and incentives?
I'm speaking for the information that they can use.
Right, and the only reason I'm bringing that up is because the legislation is requiring the commission to adopt regulations related to, or that, say that the utility has to offer or promote federal and state tax credits and incentives. And the utilities currently are providing that information, promoting that information on their website, specific to what the legislation and then the proposed regulation are saying. There is outside of that specific information, a robust email and marketing campaign that we've been referring to that is meant to discuss how the Empower programs support lowering energy usage, weatherizing your house, weatherization of your house, all of the different Empower programs that is specific to Empower. So I think the only reason I'm bringing that up is because these regulations and what we are really advocating for here are kind of more specific to just these federal and state federal incentives, federal rebates, and tax.
Okay, but it doesn't say you can't marry the requirements that are here with the other obligations that you have. I mean, all I'm concerned about is that we follow the statute to the letter, but we don't end up providing the kind of information that is useful to ratepayers. Because we can do what OPC is asking too, and so you'll, twice a year you'll just provide them with all this information. Ratepayers will look at it and say, I don't really understand, I don't understand how this relates to other programs. It's not a very effective way of communicating if you're only providing this information. However you provide it. It just seems to me that if we have these different programs, we're in the best position, you're in the best position to be able to put them together in a way that's useful for ratepayers. Otherwise, all we're doing is we're getting them information, but it's not very effective, and it's not a very effective use of our resources, your resources, and their money.
I think your point is well taken, and I think the idea of having a work group that talks through or discusses different ways with different viewpoints on how to best target our Empower segment or our Empower customers in the different segments within the Empower program and our customer base. And I think there are, in the future programming work group, there could be a discussion related to marketing. The marketing materials related to the Empower program, the utilities already provide that in our semi-annual reports.
But you only put in what is Empower.
because we're using Empower funds for it.
Okay, but
So we're not
so
speci-
do you think you can't use Empower funds to be able to promote efficiency?
The Empower program and the Empower statute currently now requires that the programs be used to promote greenhouse gas reductions. And so to that extent, that's where our Empower funds are going towards, related, and using our marketing funds towards promoting those Empower programs. This aspect here of the legislation that we're talking about is to promote federal and state tax credits and rebates. So, and that falls within the Empower legislation. So we are talking about Empower, but the Empower programs themselves have the purpose that's set out by the legislature, and the utilities are facilitating and implementing programs specific and in accordance with that directive,
Okay.
and the programs that that have been approved by the
I
commission.
understand, but there's nothing to stop us from asking you to convene a work group to find a way to effectively communicate with ratepayers all the different options that they have, that they and all the different programs, Empower or not, that they can take advantage of to be able to reduce their energy burden.
The commission can direct the utilities as it sees fit. I think related to what is in Empower, we've got the work group set up related to what is Empower. Where I think where you're going at, Commissioner, is talking about programs that the utilities do outside of Empower. Obviously, that's something that would go beyond Empower work groups. So certainly, I think the utilities are not sitting here today saying we're not willing to work with different stakeholders to figure out the best ways of communicating to our customers. But what we're talking about specifically today is Empower. So, but heard.
All right. Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, I think it actually, I would like to see a work group formed that focuses on an effective way of communicating to ratepayers all the opportunities that are available to them within Empower and outside of Empower for them to be able to reduce their usage. So that's the best way for them to try to manage their pretty hefty energy bill.
Mr. Linton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I asked the question earlier to the People's Council as to what they envisioned this would look like. And so I'm just curious from the utility perspective, what did you think this notice would look like? Would it be patched on to what you already do, or standalone document?
Commissioner Linton, we do have some ideas, I think some good ideas that actually minimize the cost. So I'm going to let my colleagues speak to you about the details about that, about what we think this could look like. I just want to put a pin in that we want to get back to, I think, some of the language here at some point to just kind of tell you what we do have problems with and what we don't. We don't have to do that now, but at the end of the day, we do need to promulgate a regulation. So.
Good afternoon. I'm Jacqueline Zekas. It's spelled Jacquelyn. Zekas is Z-I-Z-Z-I-C-H-O-S. I swear I know how to spell my name. I did want to touch on one earlier part about the manage your energy use. BGE is actually launching an advertising campaign tomorrow describing exactly the point that you brought up, kind of creating this virtual front door of how to manage your energy use effectively in the summer. So it would link to Empower programs, it would link to assistance programs. BGE has a tool online called the Savings Finder that helps them identify programs that they're qualified for. It also has the Assistance Finder. It's kind of a quick tool for them to get what they need. And it's personalized, which we're very excited about. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. We also have very robust Empower Maryland marketing campaigns about the programs. Tactics are direct mail, traditional digital advertising, email campaigns, and things like that. But that's program driven, and that's with the Empower Maryland dollars, where the Manage Your Energy Use is not. that's different funding, but just wanted to know some of the things that you'll see out in market. When we talk about this particular rulemaking, I wanted to just let you know some of the ideas that we had. So, in particular to the direct notification, if we're talking about our paper bill customers, which is about 40% of our customer base, we have two options. One is Smart Energy News. That's our newsletter. It's a quarterly newsletter that is essentially the second page of the bill. Okay, so we have real estate back and front there that if we wanted to add additional detail. Now, that would be a low-cost tactic because we already do that. So it's just putting the information in there. If that wasn't something that we wanted to pursue, we could do what we call a bill insert or a buck slip or a bill stuffer. That's, that strip of paper that you might get in your mailbox about local HVAC companies or window washers use them a lot. We have that ability to do that once a month. Now, we do have some other pieces that are required, so we'd have to find the right month to do that. Now, that would be an additional cost, and that typically runs about $7,000 for just one-sided. If we wanted to do back and front, which we could, that would cost about $14,000 to print there. So that was, we're talking about direct mail options. Of course, there is the postcard option too, but again, that's additional cost there. So we'd recommend using, again, our existing tactics, which is that newsletter that's quarterly, or this additional bill insert. Now, if we wanted to talk about electronic notifications, we have a few options there as well. We can include this information on the program emails that already go out, okay, driving them to the website. We can add additional copy. We can do one line, whatever we really want to go there. We also could do just an email there where we're just talking about these regulations. Now, that would be an additional cost. That's about a $5,000 cost to create something new. So I'll let you kind of digest those, and if you had any questions or comments, or if I can go into further detail.
Well, actually, Commissioner, you sort of kicked this off. Do you have any follow-up based on that? And I'll come back to you.
Only thing I was just going to add, PHI just does not have that Smart Energy newsletter. So PHI would have to do the bill insert option.
Okay, so, and that was going to be my next question is, these are supposed to be all of the Empower Maryland utilities. I know we just heard from BGE. So for the other companies that are at least here today, did you envision this looking, or what did you envision this looking like?
Yeah, I can speak to a little bit, Commissioner Linton. From Washington Gas's perspective, I believe that we would want to take the position of leveraging our existing marketing capabilities and resources and customer engagement tactics, similar to what Jacqueline already mentioned. I think we would be in that similar vein. I think what the underlying premise that we would want to focus on is getting the most bang for the buck, right? We want to make sure that we're keeping the cost nominal or low, but reaching our target audiences and making sure that our customer base is well informed of all the resources that are available to them. Right now, I would agree with some of the comments made by Ms. Beckham that we do have a very robust Empower Maryland marketing capability, and so we want to just leverage those successes and best practices to get this additional information out to our customers. So that could take on a variety of different ways. We have very comparable features and capabilities similar to what was just described in terms of email, social media, websites, bill inserts. There's a lot of different ways we can engage with our customers and get the news out to them. So, but the bottom line is we want to engage or leverage what we already are doing instead of creating something new and piling on those additional costs if it's not necessary.
Similar thoughts. The only reason I keep bringing up the separate bill insert is because if that's kind of what OPC has recommended in terms of like a direct customer notification. Now, I think similarly to what Miss Jacqueline says, yes, I was going to try and say your last name. I'm sorry. We could do emailings. And we already have the emailings that, or the email campaign that already kind of is in place, and we're happy to use the systems and the marketing that's already in place. It's just if we were to do a separate targeted bill insert related to what OPC has suggested, that's just an added cost, but it would be a bill insert.
Okay, so the Empower part of this discussion is really just about who's supposed to do the noticing and providing the information. So beyond that, I suppose we're looking to get as many people as possible, but as you've already identified, and I think as all of us acknowledge, customers are in different situations. So some of them might use some of this information, some may use other stuff. So when a customer receives some of the information you send out currently, they may reach out to you, for example. If they do so, do you have processes behind the scenes that can interact with the customer and provide them whatever information they need?
So I think what you're referring to is that if we sent information on an Empower Maryland program, is that
On
correct?
on
Or
anything that
anything? Okay,
you're
sure.
communicating to
Oh,
consumers
yeah,
now, and if you
absolutely.
use a email or a bill insert, that's certainly not going to have everything they need on it.
Right,
So
sure.
they will see that and say, I got this from BGE, so I'll call BGE.
Yeah, absolutely.
Receive this from WGL, I'll call WGL.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so we have several supportive tactics that we would do there. So, of course, it would be on bg.com, our website. We also would arm our care center representatives with talking points to guide the customer through. And the customer doesn't have to have an online account. We could, help them with that, help them enroll in these programs or get this information. We have a community outreach team. I have a customer advocacy team that deals with these complex billing issues and things like that. So I feel like we have a great supportive network that we could just kind of arm with this information. And that's traditionally what we do. Anytime we do any type of outbound communication or advertising campaign, we arm our customer facing organizations with that information, and even our field crews as well.
I'm assuming it's the same for the other companies.
For WGL, that's correct. We have comparable capabilities.
I suspect we have comparable capabilities as well at PHI.
Okay, and I guess for the other parties, to your knowledge, it would be similar for the other Empower Maryland companies, that if customers hear any information about a program through one of these bill inserts, email, whatever, that they could reach out to the company can provide more information. Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Barbe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, all I would like, maybe this is a data request, maybe we have it already. I'd love to see what is currently being communicated. I'd like to see the newsletter. I'd like to see inserts. I'd like to see postcards, because, I personally right now don't have a appreciation of whether I think it's a effective or an ineffective communication. I will say that I've never read a newsletter ever inserted into any piece of mail I have ever received, possibly in my life.
I can speak for BGE. I know our newsletters are available on bg.com, so we have those listed as well as the additional inserts if we had one that month. If you're an electronic bill customer, you get your bill is ready email, and that links to that page as well. But I'm sure we could kind of get that information.
Yeah,
for you.
I'd like to see
Yeah.
what it is that your three companies are providing currently.
Related to the Empower marketing in our semi-annual reports, I think it was Appendix A, all of that is there.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So if you go to
Yeah.
our last semi-annual report,
Commissioner, I would be happy to, obviously offline, sit down with you, go through the
Okay.
appendixes, and then if there's additional information you think you need from the utilities. we
All
can
right,
craft
why don't
a
we do it?
question.
Yeah, let's do it that way. I don't want to have people do something unnecessarily. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so this is a generic question for the three of you. Do you currently have the ability to differentiate between customers that are single family and townhouse owners versus people that are renters? Or do you have to actually look at the property and figure out whether it's a rental property or?
before, just to clarify, do you mean in terms of from a marketing perspective?
No, actually,
or-
I mean, from a customer standpoint. I mean, when a customer signs up with you, do you know when you bring that customer on that they're living in a house as opposed to a renter?
I would say for a majority of BG customers, we do have that information. I would say it's an ongoing effort to make sure it's up to date. We do request customers to update that information in their online account, how big their square footage of their home is, if they're a owner or renter, are they gas, electric, do they have this type of appliance? And that kind of helps us predict their tools that would be most useful to them, right? And so when we give them their energy reports and things that they could do. We also, I know we have renter information because when we have an agreement for them to sign, a service agreement, we would have that information as well. So I will say, maybe it's not exactly where we want to be, but we use that information and leverage it with our marketing. For example, I know for a particular campaign that I target just renters.
Okay. Oh, so you do have the ability to kind of.
We do have the
say-
ability. It's a work in
That'd be-
progress, but we do have the ability to
And-
target.
I would have to check. I don't suspect that we're much different from BGE's capabilities, but I would want to check and get back to you. I don't know that I want to
Okay.
say for sure.
To an extent, we have a similar setup to what was just explained by BGE. I think there is some underlying customer account information that the company has available that gives some kind of indication if it's single family or multifamily. I think a lot more information, though, will have to be kind of self-identified by a customer if they're a renter or a homeowner to a certain degree. But again, we have a similar capability, and it is kind of growing and burgeoning as our marketing capabilities expand.
Okay.
For purposes of Empower, what kind of information is provided to ratepayers? Do you do bill inserts? How often are they how often is the information provided?
Okay, so I would say for Empower, we have the ability to, again, use the newsletter, which is quarterly. So I'd have to kind of look in years past of how often an Empower program has been featured. And then the bill inserts, same thing. We don't necessarily do a bill insert every month. It's really kind of customer driven, right? What do customers want to know about or what regulation we'd have to meet? So I'd have to kind of go back with the marketing team to see, if it was 4 articles or if it was 2 inserts.
Right,
that
but you have a,
should-
but you have a,
Absolutely. We have a
but you have a
schedule.
program in place. I mean,
Absolutely,
so
yep.
and I think
Correct.
all 3 of you would say
Yeah.
that you have a program in place under Empower
Correct.
that provides customers with information about
Absolutely.
Empower programs.
Correct. Yep. And
Okay.
that, in addition to these inserts and print certs, we have those robust marketing campaigns that are all the way from digital advertising online, social media, email campaigns. I'm trying to think of what else I could think of. Direct mail. So there's a variety of things.
So I'm actually wondering if there's a way. I mean, if the OPC language were to be changed to read something like a utility offering Empower Maryland programs shall include in their notification to customers this additional information, so that I mean, again, I'm trying to just find a way where we're not sort of recreating a process or unnecessarily recreating a process, but getting the information to customers and getting the information to customers in a way that gives them the panoply of programs that are kind of out there. If you were to take the Empower notifications that you do now and simply add the federal and state rebates, tax credits, incentives, then you'll be giving customers the all of the programs that are sort of available in a platform that you already have in place. So you won't have to come up with something new.
Yeah, and that's actually our preferred method is to keep, use the tactics that we have to not incur additional costs. So tactics that we have is that newsletter or the bill inserts, if we had to do a separate one, and all that plethora of email campaigns.
Okay, so
That's
and
easy.
so you could do that, and it wouldn't.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
And Ms.
Yeah.
Beckham, do you think that?
I think that's using the email or the marketing tactics that we have in place. I think that is exactly right.
And then you would just add to that these other programs that are not Empower, and then if you're doing it like quarterly, then you're actually giving customers information more than just spring and fall. You'll be getting them all of this information on a pretty regular basis.
PHI doesn't have a quarterly newsletter.
No, I understand that.
What we and what we're already providing, we're happy to, I think, add, subject to what my marketing team would tell me. My computer just died, so
They're good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, adding this information about these federal and state rebates, tax credits, and incentives into that existing marketing. It's the direct notifications to customers. I think that's really the hang up, at least for us, because that's an added bill insert to what we'd already be doing. So,
So how do you notify customers in the PHI companies of Empower opportunities?
there's a robust marketing campaign. I think that it does include emails. So if it were to go out in a direct email notification, I think that's already included. So if that's okay, that's an option. There's some level of a bill insert. Do you know that if there's
I can't speak for PHI if they definitely do that, but I do know in the past they have used the bill insert as a vehicle to promote Empower Maryland programs.
Okay.
specifically there was the directive to provide the information about the surcharge that went out in a bill insert. I think it's the idea that there would be a separate bill insert related to this. That's the only thing that we're flagging as an additional cost. But I think what everyone is saying is existing tactics that refer to the federal and state tax incentives and pointing our customers to the MEA website, or rather maybe just say broadly the website, the information related to these incentives is something that's what we would prefer.
well,
and I don't know that the OPC language is aligned with that.
Right. No, but I'd also be interested in marrying the Empower opportunities with all these others, so that you have, in one place, information on what customers can take advantage of that are either part of the Empower program or part of some other opportunities.
So I can speak for BGE because we have this new advertising campaign that launches tomorrow that speaks to that exact point, kind of, just laying it all out there, a menu of what their options are. I do know BGE has something called the Savings Finder, which they can find all of these programs, and I believe PHI has the same thing. Just wanted to flag that for you.
And I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Commissioner, I WGL is in alignment with your perspective. I think we want to try to find a way to see if the state and federal incentives and rebates that are out there for customers can be complementary to the existing Empower rebates that Washington Gas offers, and kind of bundle it into as a.
Well, kind of a one-stop shop, so that
Absolutely.
the ratepayer doesn't have to keep going to different places.
That's right. Yeah. Right now we have a dedicated microsite for our Empower programs where we are already providing tax credit information alongside our Empower rebates. So we would just, with this new regulation, we would just expand that to include the other resources that are out there.
Okay.
That's what I was just going to jump in and say. On the website where customers can go currently and find the information that we're promoting related to these specific incentives, it's within the Empower page. So that's completely aligned, I think, with what you're suggesting as far as if you're looking for something related to Empower, you'll come across the federal and state incentives that are out there currently on our website.
Right, and now there's just, trying to figure out sort of the best way of making sure that ratepayers get it. I mean, I do like the idea that BG is getting this information out to ratepayers so that they can physically see it 4 times a year. Maybe there's another way that the PHI companies can also get that information to customers without them having to go online to find it.
I'll have to take that back, but right now, if the option would be a bill insert, that would just be an added.
No, I understand that, and trying to find a way to not have added costs.
All right. So, if I understand from what staff told me, there's no clock ticking on this regulation, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So I think what I want to do is not adopt anything today and have all of you go back and sort of discuss the ideas that we've talked about. I mean, it strikes me that, this deals with the Empower program, which was statutorily created, and this particular requirement was a part of a different statute, but my interpretation is that what the General Assembly was interested in was making sure that customers who were utilizing the Empower program, which we started and is mainly state focused and utility focused, was married with this new opportunity they saw when they passed this bill of all of these new federal incentives. And I'm sure they probably thought, oh, it's kind of a no-brainer to, while they're doing Empower stuff, if you can get a tax credit from the feds to do even more or to pay for it, all the better. Now, obviously, since then, there's been this complicating factor of the idea that the federal stuff may just disappear. So we need to kind of factor that into it too. But I guess one of the things I would like the group to do is to see if there's a way to build the communications that it does become holistic, so that we do communicate to customers all of the available options that are available at the time. And to the extent we have to modify it because some of these things disappear, we'll cross that bridge, I guess, when we get to it. And then discuss within the group the ways to provide sufficient direct customer contacts that may be beyond just a website. And so if it's, because I am cognizant of the folks that aren't digitally connected and actually do get stuff in the mail and might respond to that if they get that. And so I want you to try and pursue some options related to that, and probably at least twice a year. It doesn't necessarily have to be quarterly, but I suspect it does make sense to do it twice a year, and spring and fall probably is what makes the most sense, before we get into the high usage seasons, to try and tell people, like, here are the things you can do to avoid getting a high bill, at the end of the summer or the end of the winter. So is that sufficient direction for?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, with that, we're adjourned for today.